Following program is sponsored by PokerStars.net.
For me, it started small. From pool halls in Toronto to poke rooms in Las Vegas.
It's given me a life
I never could have dreamed.
The game has taken me around the world. I've seen it all.
From the Windy City to Sin City, this game can make you a legend.
This game can make you a champion.
It may have started small.
It may have started
But now, it's the big game.
This is the next generation.
It doesn't get any bigger than this.
This is the PokerStars.net Big Game.
Welcome to the Big Game from Las Vegas, Nevada. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Scott Huff, and tonight there's already $800,000 in cash on the table as some of the top players in the world have come to battle here in our state-of-the-art poker room.
In Seat 2 is the winner of the 2010 World Series of Poker main event, Brasselet, Jonathan Duhamel. It'll be fun to see how he does playing a cash game.
24-year-old pro Jason Mercier just happened to have exactly $213,500 left in his backpack this morning, which explains the buy-in amount.
Guy Laliberte is a wealthy amateur player. He's a billionaire, the creator of Cirque du Soleil. And oddly enough, he usually plays poker for higher stakes than this. He's in for $200K.
Bob Vulgaris is a high-stakes cash game regular with years of experience, but he doesn't call himself a poker pro. He's bought in for 100 dimes.
Straight out of Brooklyn by way of Kiev, Ukraine, Eugene Kachalov doesn't say much, but he does rake a lot of chips. He's in for 100 dimes as well.
Our loose cannon is a college admissions officer, Carrie Burchell. Carrie was born with a hole in her heart and has already beat the odds just to be standing here today. She's been staked 100 grand, and she's with Amanda.
Carrie, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really excited to actually qualify online in a free roll and be able to be staked in the largest cash game I've ever played in. It's definitely feeling really good right now.
Well, I know your nerves are probably going up and down a little bit. One of our producers actually saw you wandering around the casino at 4:30 in the morning. What's going on in your head?
I just couldn't sleep. I worked a full day that day, and I went to bed pretty early, and I woke up and I couldn't get back to sleep, so I figured, I'll take a stroll.
All right, so if you won a lot of money here today, what would you be able to do with it?
I would be able to do a lot. Actually, one of the most important things I'll do is I'll actually give some money to my dad's church. My dad really doesn't, so much condone the idea of me playing poker, but, I definitely believe in him and his ministry, so that's something positive that I'll be able to do with the money.
Well, good luck today, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Here's another look at the loose cannon rules. Each cannon is staked $100,000 to play. They keep all winnings above the initial 100K, and the loose cannon who's won the most money at season's end earns a North American Poker Tour passport worth $50,000.
Right now, the leading loose cannon to beat is Italian Massimiliano Martinez. He set the bar high at over 163K, or 11 kajillion lira.
Carrie usually plays 1-2. Joe, that's $1, $2.
So what are you hoping to accomplish, Carrie? This is an opportunity of a lifetime. What do you think about that?
I don't have a set goal.
You don't have a set goal?
Because if I tell you guys what my goal is when I get there,
We'll know.
you'll know.
Right.
Guy Laliberte,
I find it's better to go through life without goals anyways.
But
King Queen, he pots it.
there we go.
Guy learned to play poker by jumping into the biggest games in the world and losing to the likes of Barry Greenstein and Doyle Brunson. Always a seat open for Guy.
He's made it 2,000. Bob is out. Over to the cannon with ace-3 of spades.
It's a weak ace, but she's suited and in position.
And she calls. Duhamel with ace-queen makes the call. Mercier is out.
Ace-queen is often a 3-bet while out of position, but some folks like to feel out the table dynamic first.
Three-way action on the first hand. Deuce, jack, 3, couple of spades, pair, and the nut flush draw for the cannon. Duhamel checks.
This first hand should tell us a lot about what kind of cannon we got.
Laliberte leads out 5,000.
Guy was the original raiser. Now this would be a good spot for a raise. It's gut check time.
And Burchell makes it 17,000 like it's nothing.
Okay.
Duhamel out, and Laliberte folds. Our cannon will take down the first hand of the night.
Thank you.
Carrie just semi-bluffed 20% of her stack on the first hand of the night. Unprecedented. And I think I'm a little tingly.
Now let's go over the rules of the big game. Each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limited and becomes no limit after the flop. Lines are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. And every player begins with at least 100K, but can rebuy for up to 500,000.
And remember, this season our loose cannon cannot come back after they've played the week's 150 hands.
The action will start on Carrie Burchell. She looks down at 7 of clubs, 8 of clubs. She'll limp.
Not a huge fan of limping at all in this format, especially for a loose cannon.
Action over to Mercier with king 10. Looks like he's reaching for a raise. Makes it 1,800. Laliberte out. Bob Vulgaris, 10-8 offsuit. He'll let it go. And Kachalov is out. Back on the cannon.
Why are you gonna make it so expensive?
I think Jason just blushed. Well, at least she's not limp folding. That would be bad.
Those are a lot of chips. I can't imagine that's a legal raise.
Carrie makes it 15,000.
You know what?
We're pot limit before the flop, so it will count as a raise, only to 6,600.
Am I getting angle shot already?
Did you mean to call, Carrie? Let her call.
No.
Let her call.
Did you mean to call?
Good answer, Carrie.
I'm getting angle shot already. This is so sick. It's way too early to get angle shot. 60 what?
An angle shot is when you pretend to make a mistake, requires questionable ethics.
Darn, I'm gonna fold.
I don't know how you could fold there. Of course, you got angle shot.
Don't think it was an angle shot, but the question is, did she forget what the chips were worth or just that we were pot limit pre-flop? Doesn't matter now. Ship it.
Did you really mean to raise?
No,
You did,
she meant
right?
to call. I don't know how you didn't raise her. You're such a moron.
For real?
Oh no, she just meant to make it 15,200 pot limit before the flop. And then her
not?
face, she looked so. You're a professional poker player, right?
Oh my God! You know how
What
many
you do for a
times
living?
I've like gone for that spot and like just gotten
And been wrong?
Yeah, just gotten totally on.
This is what you. But this is really what you do for a living, right? Jason?
one again?
I know. You just put in 20,000 and then like, they just ship on you and you're like, oh, cool.
The Poker Pro Mercier makes it 1,200 with ace tray. The action folds around to Kachalov with ace queen. In a dominating position, makes the call. Jack deuce for the cannon. First hand she can't play.
All right, you want to chop it down now that we got the chasers out?
Who's gonna chase with them?
Chasers. Punks.
Heads up to the flop. Deuce, jack, queen, couple of clubs. Top pair for Kachalov. Mercier nut flush drawn. It's check to him.
Eugene's ahead, but Jason's got plenty of equity and will probably want to build a pot.
Jason leads out 1,700.
Eugene is ahead, but he's not doing great against some draws, so raising's a little risky. Calling's probably best.
And he does just call.
What are you trying to hit? What are you trying to hit?
Anything that's not a club.
To the turn, 7 of diamonds. That's not a club. Kachalov checks.
Let's see if Jason wants to keep firing.
Nope. We'll see a river, 9 of spades.
Clubs bricked, but a few straights came in.
The 9 just makes every hand that I can even beat.
Says the chaser.
I need you to change one of the suits of the river.
And Kachalov's river bet will take it down. Mercier folds.
Just making sure I didn't fold the nuts.
That would be unfortunate.
2 spades, 2 clubs, all right.
This guy really is a poker pro. He can tell the suits apart and everything. And Eugene Kachalov can do that too and stack chips at the same time. We're just getting started here, folks. There's plenty more big game action when we get back. Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game, where 29-year-old amateur Carrie Burchell has been given $100,000 to battle with some of the toughest players in the world, but from the day she was born, she's always been a fighter.
When I was born with a hole in my heart, which they didn't think was going to be a big deal. They actually told my parents that as I grew older, it would actually close on its own.
They just said that they would just have to monitor her, you know, as she grew, and that her physical activity would have to be limited.
When I got to high school, I actually used to get really, really tired. So we went back in to see my cardiologist.
They wanted to close the hole in her heart because her heart had become enlarged.
What was happening was that my lungs were building up blockers, so that by the time I was 25, my lungs would have built up enough blockers to eventually have shut down.
And they said, you know, 50-50 chance that once we do this, that she'll be okay the rest of her life, but we need to do it now.
They actually put a patch over the hole in my heart so that the blood would no longer pump through the hole.
They were successful at closing the hole. She still has to be a little cautious at the things that she does when it comes to physical activity, but I would say she's okay.
So seeing now that I'm actually over the age of 25, I actually do live life to the fullest, and I try not to waste time doing things that I don't enjoy or doing things just because I feel like I have to. So when I want to do something, I typically set a plan and I get out there and I do it.
Describe Carrie in one word: driven.
Carrie's decided she's going to live life to the fullest. Glad she considers the big game to be a part of that. Hopefully she'll win some cash and use that for some more adventures.
Mercier is out on Guy. Folds. Over to Bob with ace-5 offsuit. He'll open the pot for 1,600. Kachalov out. King 10 of diamonds for the cannon. She calls. Duhamel out.
Did you mean to raise?
Was that a raise?
So you think she really didn't mean to raise?
Of course. Are you out of your mind? You seriously are a professional poker player and you have no concept of what's going on around you.
Oh yeah, by the way, Bob's sort of brutally honest.
To the flop. 9-9-7, couple of hearts. Rochelle checks. Bob fires 2,200.
She threw in 15,000, then made this face like, oh, it was a big accident. Like, okay, cool, you have aces.
Carrie didn't have aces. She had 8-7, which, if you say it right, kind of sounds like aces.
She folds.
I'm gonna look like the genius. You're gonna look like the idiot if she has aces.
Yeah, I'd like to see the TV show where you look like a genius and I look like an idiot. I'll sign up to watch that one. That'll be a good one. TiVo. I'll TiVo it.
All right, everyone knows you're smarter than me.
No, I'm just teasing you.
No, he's not.
This is playful fun.
I mean, you gotta be to do what you do. So.
And what does he do?
Yep.
He watches every minute of every NBA game. He soaks it all in and then bets accordingly. And he's really, really good at it. Like NBA teams have offered him jobs as an analyst good at it. And though he claims not to be a poker pro, he's logged plenty of hours on the tournament circuit and in cash games. He also has almost no filter, so try to stay on his good side.
I've tried, when you put in like long sessions and you shuffle and you start to feel like you have carpal tunnel in your wrist.
I don't know if you're trying to pretend that you play poker or if you're like, I don't know if we're getting hustled or what. I've never met someone so honest with the fact that they play poker.
Bob likes to downplay his poker knowledge a bit as well.
Action folds around to the cannon with ace-4.
Does this look like the face of a hustler?
Hustler folds.
We don't know yet.
Speaking of hustlers, have you seen the price for tickets to O?
Duhamel's raised to 1,200 with rags. Mercier with king-queen. Makes the call.
There we go.
And speaking of O, Guy is OUT.
We.
So we'll go heads up to the flop. Ace-4-6, 2 clubs. Duhamel with bottom 2 pair.
Carrie would have flopped top and bottom.
Mercier checks.
Not in position, not the aggressor. So many reasons for Duhamel to c-bet. Value, protection, can get action from all kinds of worse hands.
He bets out 2,200.
For Jason, this call would be a little loose, but he is beating a pure bluff, which is something Duhamel probably would have a certain amount of the time.
And Mercier does call. Turn, king of spades. Mercier makes a pair.
Terrible card for Jason.
He checks.
Obviously, Duhamel can continue value betting.
How much value does he want? 5,600 worth.
Jason's got even more reason to think he might have the best hand.
And he calls.
Mercier tossing in those chips like he knows he's never going to see him again.
To the river. Deuce of diamonds.
3-5, which was open-ended on the flop, came in, but Duhamel will still likely want to try to value bet this.
And Mercier checks again. Duhamel fires.
Sounds like Duhamel could get paid.
Seemed insane to call the flop and not call the turn, so I just had to call the turn.
There are some missed draws Duhamel could have been barreling with.
But calling the river would probably be bad.
Story checks out.
Bluffing. I can only beat a bluff. 14-4. Seems like a fold.
Story still checks out.
Trying to get me back. Is that what it is? I think you just, you flopped something good, like ace-4.
Story continues to check out. Ah, I forgot that's what Carrie had. Too soon.
Wonder how this hand would have played if I 3-bet.
You'd probably lose a much bigger pot.
I think I lose more.
Story still checking out. When's the end of this story?
Okay. By the end of the hand, we'll have a full book.
I'm glad that we're playing number of hands, not hours. That's all I have to say.
That's why I can take this long.
Don't worry about it. They'll invite you back on TV.
I'm gonna be Phil Hellmuth for the day.
Mercier folds.
Which one?
No way.
No way. So Duhamel breaks the ice.
Hockey reference?
He had it.
Yeah, I had.
He would have shown him bluff.
The main event champ takes down the 33K, and the only thing that gets shown down are the entire contents of Jason Mercier's brain. And we've got plenty more action to come when we return on The Big Game. Welcome back to Las Vegas and The Big Game. There's over 800 grand in cash on that table right there. Cards are in the air, and action will begin this time on feared pro Eugene Kachalov.
Eugene's a bit reserved at the tables. I tried to pitch him some nicknames, and he rejected both the Quiet Storm and Silent but Deadly.
He'll be silent in this hand. Lets it go. Jack 9 for Burchell. Folds. Duhamel out. Mercier 7 tray. Folding. Guy completes. King Queen for Bob. Raises.
Not of course. I have to look first.
Guy calls.
Of course.
Bob's got Guy dominated.
To the flop. Deuce 4 Queen.
Blind versus blind. Both flop top pair. Cooler.
And it checks around. Turn 6 of spades.
Bob's checking there for pure deception.
And La Liberte bets out 2,000. Voulgaris makes the call.
Guy's also picked up a gut shot. He's in real trouble unless a 5 or a tray hits.
River's another 6. Bob's got it locked up if he doesn't fold.
I was going to raise the river. That was like the plan.
Go ahead.
5,500 is the bet.
Now I don't think I can anymore.
Yeah, Queen.
Bob just calls.
Yeah, good job.
Typically, when you check the flop, you try to get the raise in there somewhere.
How good do you play?
I got max value.
Maybe.
Max value.
It is.
So Bob got max value out of the billionaire who follows his passions, a man who learned poker by playing at the highest stakes against the legends of the game.
Hi, I'm Guy Laliberté from Cirque du Soleil, and I'm on The Big Game. Well, I'm just an happy camper who one day had a dream of traveling. So for 10 years of my life, I was basically living in the street, traveling around the world, and making money out of passing the hats. And then in 1984, I started a dream of mine, which was Cirque du Soleil. We have 22 shows around the world, and having fun doing what we're doing. There was a couple of my friends who were telling me that poker game was a good one to get in, so I basically jump in. I think if you want to play great quality poker, I think you have to sit down and learn and play with a good player, and that's what I've been doing.
For him to be playing with them as an amateur, I think he learned pretty hard, but he learned fast at the same time, and now he's like a much better poker player than he was before because of that.
So he knows what it takes to be successful. He's a very competitive person. The only thing that holds him back, he's got a day job, and he's got other things that he does, so he can't just focus on poker like a lot of us can.
I think most players think that Guy has a target on his back because of who he is.
I think Guy might have a target on his back, especially in this lineup. Everyone's kind of like, seasoned, so everyone, I guess, is gunning for him.
Of course there's a target. People looking for money, and they go where the money is, and I do have money. I believe I'm not that easy, so we'll see. My track record is pretty good.
If I were playing, I would target Guy, not because he's a bad player, but because I paid $200 for obstructed view seats to humanity. It is important to note, however, that where Guy goes, so goes the action, and y'all are in for a real treat. This is Guy's first time on a poker TV show since 2008.
Action will start here on Jonathan Duhamel with Jack Deuce.
I don't know. You play more poker than me, so.
He folds over to Mercier, Queen 5.
No one plays more poker than Jason Mercier. Kid plays poker while he's playing poker.
Except this hand. He lets it go, and it's on La Liberte with ace king of clubs. Raises to 1,600. Voulgaris, Jack Trey. He'll fold. Pocket nines for Eugene Kachalov. Calls. Over to the cannon with pocket eights.
Carrie's in bad shape to these two hands. She's got implied odds for flopping a set, but as it stands, her equity is total trash bags.
She calls. Three-way action to the flop. Trey ace ace and Guy flops trips.
Sounds like something they'd have in a Cirque show. Come see the amazing flopping trips.
Kachelov checks. Rochelle passes.
6 spot for a C-bet. No one ever believes you flop trips.
Looks like he will. And he does. C-bets 3,100.
Eugene has what will be a lot of the time the best hand.
Makes the call.
With a bet and a call in front of her and a super dry board, Carrie can maybe get away from this.
Maybe not, Joe.
Oh, boy.
She calls 3,100 in last place.
Even if you hit your 2-outer, you can still get stacked by aces full.
Turn, 10 of spades. Kachelov checks.
Carrie's looking at her chips like she wants to donk this turn.
The timing couldn't be worse. She's been aggressive so far, and she's going to stay aggressive. Bets 8,400.
Her aggression is going to work against her in this particular case. She's gotten Guy's attention.
She's got his attention, Joe, but what could he possibly be thinking about here? He has trips.
Well, I think the most likely hands for Carrie to lead out with in this spot are an ace that she checked, pocket tens, or a pure bluff. Maybe a picked up flush draw on the turn. No way Guy's folding.
Well, he's got trip aces, and he's worth a couple $1 billion, so I like your read, Joe.
84. Raise.
And he is going to raise. 20,000 on top. Welcome to the big game, Cannon. Kachelov is out.
Guy's hoping Carrie will go broke with a smaller ace. It should be a super easy fold for her at this point. Miss Cannon does not want to be outplayed.
She makes the right fold.
So Guy maybe even saved her money because who knows, she might have even fired again on the river. And I think his raise was a little risky because as an amateur, she might also lead out in that spot with hands that have him beat.
And the richest circus clown ever takes a pot worth 51,500.
Still play tournament once in a while?
I like maybe 4 or 5 a year. What? What are you laughing for?
It's just funny.
That's all I play.
I know.
That's funny.
4 or 5 a year.
It's a lot. I mean,
That's more than I do.
Probably. You play more poker than I do, for sure.
For a lifetime, yeah.
Yeah, not a lifetime, but like in the last 5 years, for sure.
Sure. But tournament, I can't. It's too long sometimes.
You don't know when you're going to be done.
Exactly.
Hate those tournaments.
Jason hates tournaments, which is why he routinely beats them like a drum.
Bob Bulgaris, Jack 6. That's a fold in hand. Eugene, Queen 8. He lets it go. Cannon's out. Duhamel, 6-5. He's going to raise it on the button. King 5 of diamonds from Mercier. Re-raises to 4,100.
Mercier getting cued out of the small blind.
And Laliberte, the only one with a real hand, pocket sevens.
Beckoning to Jason Mercier like he's a horse.
Guy calls. Back on Duhamel. And he'll call with his piece of cheese.
Kind of loose, but he's not cold calling. He was getting good pot odds, and he's in position. Plus, he has the bracelet.
4, 6, 8 rainbow. Everyone flops gut shots. Duhamel hits middle pair.
Guy's blocking Jason and Jonathan, and vice versa.
Mercier checks.
Guy has the best hand.
Checks his pair in a gut shot.
Duhamel is likely to think he has the best hand.
Still has the button and some chips. Makes it 7,800.
Over to Mercier's gut shot.
Lets it go.
Over to the guy who does have the best hand.
All right.
So Guy's going to raise it. Matches the 7,800. And he'll make it 24,300 to go.
Guy's kind of turned his hand into a bluff, which it's actually a little too strong for, but I guess he'd be happy to win this right now. We've got a French-Canadian on French-Canadian brawl here. Hockey sticks and baguettes.
Duhamel folds. Blame Canada. The high wire act continues for Laliberte. That's a huge raise to win that pot.
Maudit malade, toi. Il est du maudit malade, toi.
Ah, tu me connais? Des fois je l'ai, des fois je l'ai pas.
Ah, je sais.
Sometime I have it, sometime I don't.
Shake it off, Jonathan. C'est la vie. More big game on the way.
Jonathan, you got this pregame ritual, right? The these kind of
shadow boxing.
Shadow boxing, yeah. Does the shadow ever win? First of all.
Yeah.
Really?
You saw the World Series, right?
Yeah, right. That was the shadow.
Yeah,
winning.
that's when it started. Actually, I kind of started when I was deep in the money. Just started doing that, you know, just to keep my focus and stuff. So during the breaks, I was doing that.
It helps you get the nerves out too, right?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I kind of a little bit forgot what happened like the last 2 hours and just think about the next 2 hours and just be focused and be ready and stuff. So.
I don't know if you can tell, but before I do my job, I like to shadow drink, only without the shadow part.
Oh, I can tell. Right now, it's time for my favorite segment of the night, the Couch Can in Hand. This is where we all get to experience what it's like under the gun and in the hot seat from the eyes of our loose cannon. And the action this time will start on the cannon, Kerry Burchell.
Should be really fun considering so far Kerry's been an absolute baller.
And a shot caller. King 10 of diamonds.
Suited Broadway cards should be a raise. Okie dokie.
She just limps.
All right, I take no responsibility for what happens after this. I wash my hands of this one. I'm out.
Duhamel raises to 1,600. Mercier, taking his time, makes the call.
All right, well, if Jason's in, I'm back in.
Guy makes the call.
This is Kerry's fault for not raising, and I don't care what Phil Hellmuth said last week. King 10 is not a trapper hand.
And apparently not enough money in the pot for whatever trash Bob had. Kachalov folds. Back on the cannon.
Kerry's limp has backed herself into a corner. She has to call, but now she's up against 3 opponents. No 3-bet, so maybe nothing too scary out there.
4-way action to the flop. Jack 4 deuce, a couple of diamonds, and Kerry has a big flush draw. Checks it.
She's done the right thing by checking to the original raiser. If she had let it this flop, she could easily be raised, and all she's got at the moment is king high. Duhamel reaching for C-bet chips.
Duhamel continues, and Jason quickly out.
Duhamel's original raise may have just been an isolation attempt to get the pot heads up with Kerry, so this could just be a C-bet with anything.
Now it's up to Guy. Seems like he's at least contemplating a call.
Or maybe putting a flaming dragon in his next Cirque show.
And he lets it go. Action back on our cannon.
This is a pretty obvious call. However, a little poker tidbit, if you always just call with a draw in this spot and always raise with strong hands, it's easier for your opponents to get a read on you when you do one or the other.
Well, she just calls this time, so we'll see a turn card. 10 of spades. Kerry now with a pair to go with our flush draw.
Great turn card. Kerry could now easily have the best hand.
Checks it.
Fine with her checking back to the last aggressor.
Duhamel fires again, 11,600.
All right, so I don't like this bet. Duhamel pursed his lips, which is sometimes indicative of a bluff, but I'd say I'm 50-50 on my live reads at best. I don't think Kerry should fold, but I'd be cautious about calling another bet on the river if she doesn't improve.
Duhamel's certainly very interested in what Kerry's about to do here. And it looks like she's at least calling. She does, makes the call.
Kerry's got a decent amount of showdown value with second pair, and of course, she still has that diamond draw.
River, queen of spades. Kerry's not loving that card.
That is not a good card. A lot of stuff is beating Kerry now.
She checks it.
Any queen, any jack, ace king, 8-9. Really hope this bet isn't for too much.
How about 27,500?
That's a bomb. I could totally see Jonathan playing ace king the whole way this way. I think this is a fold. Maybe Kerry's getting outplayed, but whatevs. There are better spots. To call this bet would be over 35% of Kerry's remaining stack.
But she calls.
You call? You got it.
Duhamel, 8-7. Missed his straight, tried a 3-barrel bluff, and Kerry picks it off. Ooh. What an amazing call.
I think that sends a message a little bit, right?
And that message is that Kerry is a baller.
And a bluff caller.
Whoops. Whoops. Very good call.
You can have all of these.
It's all yours. Ew.
Our loose cannon Carrie Burchell just turned the main event champ into French toast. She's up over 40 dimes. Will her success continue? Find out when we come back. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, and the big game. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Scott Huff. There's over 800 grand on that table, and right now, our loose cannon is up, Joe.
She's up about 43 dimes, and all I can say is Carrie knows how to dance like nobody's watching, love like she'll never be hurt, and play poker like it's someone else's money.
I'll put 50 more.
Canadian champ Jonathan Duhamel adding another 50K in ammo after having a big bluff picked off.
When he won the main event, Bracelet, Duhamel donated 100 dimes to the Montreal Canadiens Children's Foundation, which is awesome and everything, but he's Canadian and it just had to do with hockey. I mean, the jokes write themselves. It was either that or the Make a Maple Syrup Wish Foundation.
Action folds around to the cannon. Ace-10 offsuit.
Should be an easy raise from late position with an unopened pot.
She does, pumps it up to 1,700. Duhamel with 6-7.
Looks like Duhamel might want to take another crack at the cannon in position.
Makes the call.
Three or four hands.
Guy, King 4. He'll fold.
Wonder how likely Jonathan is to try another bluff in this spot.
So Jonathan and Carrie will go at it again. 9-5-6, couple of diamonds. Duhamel hits a pair of sixes.
Carrie with the pre-flop betting lead.
She's reaching for chips. Bets 3,300.
More than 3/4 of the pot. Don't think Duhamel's going anywhere. Not only does he have the best hand, but he's also got a pretty strong draw.
And he calls. Turn 4 of hearts.
Duhamel picks up more outs to the straight. Now he's open-ended. Gonna make it tough for Carrie to bluff him out, even if she can fire the second barrel.
She's not scared, though. Bets 8,400.
Carrie is a baller. Still, even if Jonathan may be convinced he's behind at the moment, he would have too much equity to fold. And that's a pretty big if to begin with. I wonder if he can give Carrie credit for barreling with ace high, though.
Doesn't look like he's going anywhere. Reaching for chips. And Jonathan will make the call.
He's a huge favorite headed into the river.
Which is 3 of clubs. Jonathan hits his straight.
Will this be a scare card for Carrie, or will she keep firing? Carrie is loading up for the third barrel. Baller!
There it is, 13,500.
Well, there's definitely action on that corner.
That's how you can tell Callie's a sharp player. She found the soft spot at the table. She immediately went after the soft spot, just like right off the bat.
Bob talking that way about a fellow Canadian. That's not even cool, eh? There's only one hand that beats Duhamel, so I think it's pretty likely we're going to see a raise here.
Plus, Bob probably didn't do Carrie any favors by calling Jonathan out.
Even though Carrie's just fired 13-5 into the abyss, I do respect the hustle.
Healthy raise to 32,300.
No chance she calls us, but I honestly don't blame her for trying to make it look good. The less information she gives about herself, the better. The pursed lips and the squinty eyes are a nice touch.
And you still have nothing, Carrie. Let's it go.
All right.
Hey, show it, Jonathan. Come on, what are you going to show?
I never bluff, you know that.
So Duhamel wins that one against our loose cannon, but she's playing like a champ. In fact, her stats tell us that she's literally playing exactly like the 2010 World Series of Poker main event champion in all 4 of these categories. Yes, I'm a stats geek, and yes, I couldn't be more aroused by this comparison. She's been playing aggressively and obviously isn't afraid to get money in there. Even though she did just drop 27K to Duhamel on that last hand, she made a fearless call against him earlier tonight, and she's the one who's now up almost 16 grand. So far in bracelets versus bracelet, advantage, bracelets. Carrie does have some nice jewelry there. Is there a WSOP bracelet mixed in?
Actual start here on Eugene Kachelov. He's been awfully quiet so far tonight.
I asked him about it. He said,
maybe getting a little bored, raises it up with the queen 4. Burchell, king 6. Folds. Duhamel out. Jason Mercier, 8-6. He'll fold. Guy with ace queen.
Can often be a 3-bet from this position.
But just calls.
Eugene did raise under the gun, which usually denotes strength.
Bob with ace rag.
Bob's played pretty snug tonight.
And he'll let it go.
He's right to not get involved with a weak offsuit ace.
Heads up to the flop. Tray 9-9. 2 diamonds. Complete airball.
Guy's ahead with ace high.
And checks it.
Eugene's in position.
He'll continue. Bets 1,600.
Guy's so rich he went to space on vacation. $1,600 won't even get you Starbucks up there.
He calls.
Worse than Hawaii.
To the turn. Jack of spades.
No one picks up any additional outs.
Guy checks again. And Katchalov will slow down. River, 4 of spades, and Eugene makes a pair.
Now Guy's looking to lead all of a sudden.
Fires out 5,200.
I think he's bluffing, but I'm not sure how many better hands would fold. Eugene might have the only one, especially since this all of a sudden lead out does kind of smell a little value-y.
And he'll fold. While Liberte gets away with a small bluff.
Guy's scared off Eugene like a fire-breathing acrobatic clown.
What happens when you try to pick on my blind all the time? You run into the buzzsaw, the original G.
It's pronounced Guy, not G.
So Guy makes it look easy to bluff the pros. See if he can keep taking these veterans to the shed when we get back. Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game. Right now the cards are being dealt and the action will start on 24-year-old pro Jason Mercier.
His and Duhamel's razors must have been confiscated at airport security.
Queen 10 for Jason. And bumps it up to 1,200. Guy's out. Bob Voulgaris. Ace 5.
Oh, really? Downtown?
Folds. Katchalov out. Our loose cannon, Carrie Burchell, pocket 7s. And she'll make the call. Main event champ Jonathan Duhamel, ace 3 of spades. And he makes the call.
Carrie and Jonathan both just called out of position, but Jason did raise under the gun, so typically that'd narrow his range to stronger hands.
Queen deuce 5 rainbow on the flop. Mercier flops top pair. Burchell's checked it.
Playing in flow.
Duhamel checks.
Go with the flow. Jason wasted no time catching up, out flopping Carrie. Typically he waits until the turn to river.
Feel me flow. Bets 2,300.
Carrie may not hate the sole overcard on board.
Makes the call. And Duhamel folds.
Well, at the moment, she's drawing to a 2-outer.
Heads up to the turn, Jack of spades.
Board gets worse for 2 7s.
Burchell checks.
And not much worse for Queen 10.
Was that a check?
Yes.
Mercier checks behind. River, 6 of spades.
Duhamel would have made backdoor spades, nut spades. Checking and hoping for some cheap showdown value would be fine for Carrie here, even though we know she's losing. Or she could bet.
How about barreling 9,000 on the end?
That's an overbet. Jason's a little perplexed by the meaning of this overbet.
9,000, so much.
Typically an overbet is a polarizing move, meaning you have a huge hand or you're bluffing. Carrie's hand isn't a pure bluff, but she's turned her hand into a bluff of sorts. Playing against an amateur is particularly difficult because you have to wonder if they know what an overbet is supposed to mean. Did they even intend to overbet? Do they know that overbetting is even a thing? Look, there's only so much I can say about overbetting, Mercier. The bet's 9K. You make that in like 0.2 tournaments. Make a decision, will you?
I was not planning on folding.
Well, now that he's been over the plan, maybe he can make a decision. Wow, it's a 9K decision. Tanks for the memories, Mercier. Carrie keeping pretty cool during all this.
What do you have? And why did you bet so much? I'm just...
Mercier folds.
The loose cannon just out-leveled Jason Mercier, a baller.
Burchell bluffs again and wins.
She's like value betting like ace jack there, and I'm just like so annoyed. I'm just so bad, and I fold.
You wish her hand was that good.
Mercier makes another questionable laydown to the cannon, who's clearly come to play. Joe, what have you noticed so far about this table?
I've noticed that they've all come to play, and though Mercier is voluntarily putting his chips in play the most, no one's VPIP is that far behind. No one is the clear chip miser at this table, and no one is acting like a maniac either. They're all here to tangle. It's making for a fun table so far, and I have to think it will inevitably lead to some bigger pots later in the week.
Well, Joe, you certainly wouldn't know that Carrie's usual stakes are $1, $2.
Well, she's playing like it's a $1, $2 game. Doesn't really seem to be sweating the money much at all.
Action on Bob Vulgaris. Pocket queens.
He's a good little doggy. Well, yeah, he thinks he's a big dog, though.
Bob raises. Bob has a Jack Russell Terrier named Coltrane who thinks he's a big dog and a jazz saxophonist. Kachalov calls. Rochelle folds and Duhamel's out. Jason Mercier with ace-jack of spades. 3 bets to 7,200. La Liberte quickly out.
This is one of those situations where Jason doesn't want to take this flop out of position without the lead. Bob's probably considering a 4-bet, which is fine in this spot, but you should really only 4-bet if you're not planning on folding to a 5-bet.
4 bets it to 18,700. Eugene out. Mercier no longer with the lead.
Did you start with 100?
Yep.
Yum. Looks like Jason might be considering seeing a flop, maybe putting in a 5th bet.
Opts to just call. So a nice size pot as we go heads up to the flop. 10, queen, 8, couple of hearts. Bob with a set.
Bob's got the nuts for now, but it's a bit of a wet, scary board.
Mercier checks his gut shot.
Bob really can't afford to slow play this. Way too many draws out there.
Bets 32,200.
Bob's made it pretty expensive for Jason to draw to his double gutter. Jason's been getting run over a little bit. Gotta wonder if that's gonna factor into his decision at all. It may push him more in the direction of shoving, which could maybe get Bob to fold a hand like ace-king, but getting him to fold a set or an overpair would be next to impossible. Not really sure what's taking Jason so long. Maybe something in the back of his head screaming, shove, shove. This really should be a pretty easy laydown.
And he does let it go.
Finally.
And Bob's going to take down the pot.
I did a turn.
I see the top card, yeah, and the river.
Rabbit hunt. Bob should have brought his Jack Russell Terrier.
Oh, that's a bad card. I see the river.
Bink, there it is. Jason would have made it straight.
I win.
Oh, you think so?
Unless you had the nuts.
Like on the flop that I had the nuts?
No. Unless you have a flush.
Ugh. Sometimes it's just better not to look. And looking at our leaderboard, we can see that Bob is our big winner so far, up over 42,000, followed by our loose cannon and our billionaire. Both are up around 20 grand.
Kachalov is down a little, and the WSOP main event champion does not seem to be faring well in our cash game. He's stuck 36 grand.
While Jason Mercier got hammered for 40 dimes.
All right, guys, end of the night. Carrie, you're really holding your own out here, huh?
I'm trying to.
How you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah? Jason, you've been ultra chatty today.
Yeah, I know.
Why? A lot of action.
Yeah, I know. Too much action for me, I think.
All right, shut up. Whatever. It's the end of the night, guys. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now. And remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. Good night, everybody.
It's shaping up to be an action-packed week here on the big game with a cannon who's not afraid to fire. See if she keeps it up tomorrow night. For Stapes, this is Huff. So long.
You having fun, Key?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's get to know some new people.
What do you think of this table full of maniacs?
Are they
You're one of
maniacs? They're maniacs?
No,
Yeah.
it's a pretty...
Don't you think it's kind of crazy? A little bit?
No,
pretty-
it's a soft game.
Yeah. Soft game, says Gee. Soft game.
The preceding program was sponsored by PokerStars.net.